One of the biggest trades we've ever seen in NBA history has just gone through. Luka Doncic is headed to the Los Angeles Lakers as part of a three-team trade. Details are still coming in, but Luka has been traded to the Los Angeles Lakers in return for Anthony Davis and other pieces. More ahead next here at the Upside. And welcome in, everybody. Appreciate you guys joining us. Just a crazy trade just went down in the NBA. Let me get this Twitter pulled up for you guys so you can see the tweet that broke the news from Shams Charania. Just absolutely incredible news. Head over to X, and here is the trade. It has not been hacked. Here's the full trade from Shams Charania. Lakers get Luka Doncic, Maxi Kleber, and Markieff Morris. Mavericks get Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a first-round pick. Honestly, I'm surprised Dallas didn't get another pick out of this one, if this is indeed the full trade. And the Jazz ultimately get Hood Shifani, or I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name anyway, but Jalen, they get a couple of second-round picks out of this deal, in just an incredible deal here. I thought Luka Doncic was going to be a Maverick pretty much for the entirety of his time. Just absolutely crazy. I thought this was a fake trade when I first saw it. That's kind of why we had a longer intro video to our live a minute ago when we were doing our nightly baseball live for you guys. But when a trade like this happens, you have to go live, my friend. I mean, look at the details here. Just for the Mavericks alone, trading the best player in the deal. They trade Luka Doncic, their franchise cornerstone, the future of the franchise, the future of their entire next 10 years. That they've really locked up for the foreseeable future. And now you've traded him for Anthony Davis and a piece in Max Christie, who could be a utility-type player for them, and a first-round pick. You're not exactly getting another pick out of this deal. To me, Luka is by far the best player in this deal. Just absolutely crazy to see this deal here. But let's go ahead and check out X, just to kind of see if what are the other updates that have come since this deal has been done.
This might be the most shocking trade in NBA history. Let us know in the comment section what you think about this trade here. Just incredible deal here for Dallas and the Lakers. Don't sleep on what the Jazz may be doing in this deal as well, but boy, oh boy, what a deal this turns out to be. Let me see if I can get this pulled up for you guys. Fanspo. There we go. Just, wow. I wanted to go to the trade machine here and just see what it would even look like. I'm sure somebody's probably already got this thing posted, so let me see if somebody already has it here. Just, wow. Come on. There's the deal. Just incredible deal. $43 million for Anthony Davis. You're asking how much he's making. $43 million this year, and he signed for 4 years. Luka's a free agent in 3. Maxi's out for the year, so the Lakers aren't going to get anything out of Maxi for at least a couple of months. He might be back for the playoffs, but I doubt it. He's a very injured player at this point in his career, but Markieff Morris, a veteran leader for the Mavericks, surprised he's in this one. I think it's mainly there to make the money work, but I don't think they really needed to do it. I mean, the deal itself does save the Mavericks $5.7 million according to the way they've got it laid out here, which does get underneath some certain tax thresholds for the Mavericks. But, man, what a deal. Just incredible deal here. I mean, my head is spinning right now because Luka was the focal point of what the Mavericks were doing offensively. I mean, he had his defensive liabilities, absolutely, but they've addressed those by having 2 rim protectors at center. They have a couple of good wing players. Now, I think they still could have added another defensive wing, say, at the trade deadline, but with all the injuries that have beset the Mavericks this year, I mean, I didn't think this was their year after all the injuries they've had, including injuries to 2 of the players that are going to the Lakers in this deal. Now, maybe this is just to kind of give them a future here in Los Angeles. Getting a, quote, next face of the league in Luka Dončić there in L.A. obviously would be fantastic for both the NBA and the Lakers entirely, but I'm still surprised that this trade ultimately is what's going to go down. I'm surprised there are not more first-round picks going to the Mavericks for this one. I know one of you guys posted a comment here just a moment ago that the Jerry Jones' popularity just skyrocketed in Dallas after the move the Mavericks just made. I still want to see what this trade ultimately turns out to be. Yeah, I was right there with you, Charles. I thought this was clickbait as well. I thought somebody had just hacked Shams. And ultimately, it's just a crazy deal. Appreciate all you guys joining us, but we did our baseball live earlier, just a few minutes ago. There was really nothing that happened today. So those of you looking for our normal evening baseball show, I do apologize. We'll have a longer show tomorrow morning to break down some of the trades we're going to get into tonight. But nothing really happened in the world of baseball. This is the groundbreaking, earth-shattering news that really needs to be reported on, because this is the type of trade we're going to be talking about 20 years from now. Hey, you remember where you were when this trade went down? How shocking this trade ultimately happens? Now, of course, LeBron and Doncic playing together is going to be phenomenal basketball to watch. I want to see how this thing ultimately unfolds. I'm curious to see how Kyrie Irving views this whole deal, how Anthony Davis views this deal. I don't think the Mavericks got back enough for Luka. I guarantee you that the Mavericks didn't get enough back for Luka Dončić. Even if you have Anthony Davis signed for 4 years, how quickly does he say, hey, I thought I had a future out there in L.A., I understand I have a home here in Dallas now, but I want to play somewhere where I want to go. I didn't choose to play in Dallas. I chose to play in L.A. I was going to be the face of that team. I was going to be the face of that franchise after LeBron left, and now, gone. That's Luka Dončić right now. So let's head over to X just one more time, because I'm still in absolute disbelief here. To me, this is by far the most shocking trade I've ever seen in the NBA ever. And it's honestly not that close. This is just face of franchise, in Luka Dončić going to the Los Angeles Lakers. The rich get richer here. The Jimmy Butler trade was expected to be one of the biggest trades we see here at the deadline. And no, this is going to take the cake for years to come. I know Kevin Durant was traded for, a king's ransom from the Phoenix Suns a couple of years ago. Or from the Brooklyn Nets a couple of years ago. This trade pales in comparison to that. And if they're only getting 1 first-round pick from the Lakers, this is a sorely missed trade here for the Mavericks. I understand Luka has his deficiencies on defense, but we're talking about a once-in-a-generation type player. It's not that easy to get those players. And Anthony Davis, as good as he is, as dominant as he can be, is not to the level of Luka Doncic for me. Now, the defensive versatility that Anthony Davis does bring will be certainly a welcome addition to the Dallas Mavericks. They're not going to have a lopsided floor, but the Mavericks have gotten to see what basketball looks like without Luka Doncic on the floor. Now they basically have been playing 500, a little bit under 500 basketball without Luka for the better part of a month now. Now they're going to see what it looks like with having another quote-unquote Kristaps Porzingis in there at the 5 spot. What does this mean for Derek Lively? What does this mean for Daniel Gafford going forward? I'm sure Anthony Davis is going to have a center next to him. But I think they're going to choose one of those two guys and trade the other one. I know Daniel Gafford's been having his name thrown around there quite a bit over the past month, ever since Luka had his injury. They thought this might not be the year for the Mavericks because of all the injuries that they've had. And I'm beginning to believe him. Lively's going to be out a couple of months. Kleber was going to be out for an extended period of time as well. Luka was getting closer to coming back. So this is just an absolute out-of-nowhere team. I mean, no out-of-nowhere trade. I'm just absolutely floored. Mike, Luka, Reeves, connect. That's kind of your future there in LA once LeBron does retire. Max Christie is a stud in making. Gonna miss him. I don't know. I haven't seen Max Christie play too much, but for me, even getting Max Christie, as you know, whatever you might think of him, to get only one first-round pick is an absolute miss. And Nico Harrison, I know he was prone to make big trades at the trade deadline. This marks the third straight year he's been in charge of the Mavericks front office there, and he's made a big trade, getting out of Kristaps Porzingis' contract, getting into Kyrie Irving, and last year making the trade for Daniel Gafford and P.J. Washington, now making the trade for Anthony Davis, adding another pick to the haul for the Mavericks. I get it. It does help as far as the first-round pick capital, but, I mean, come on. Kevin Durant got traded for how many picks? He got traded for how many other good young players? Mikal Bridges. He got traded for Cam Johnson. Now, understandably, everybody realizes that the Nets absolutely fleeced the Phoenix Suns. And I understand Kevin Durant is a more complete player. But you're telling me a few more years of Kevin Durant at the very end of his career, we're talking about, say, a player with maybe 5-6 years left, maybe in the NBA when the trade was made, versus Luka Doncic, who's going to be in the NBA for at least 10 to 15 more years. You're telling me you only get one first-round pick and an impact player like Anthony Davis back in return? This is an absolute miss of a trade for me if I'm the Dallas Mavericks, and I'm a huge Dallas Mavericks fan. I am so over the moon as far as, shock with this trade. I don't even know how to put it into words, honestly. This is just crazy, man. Luka, 25 years old, absolutely crazy that they're able to once again fleece a team in the NBA for their young player that's going to be the face of that franchise and could very well be the face of the NBA for the next 10 to 15 years. It's just incredible to me that once again the Lakers are somehow the beneficiaries of this type of a trade. We saw that with the Pau Gasol trade with the Lakers several years ago with Kobe Bryant. Obviously, Pau Gasol not on the level of Luka Doncic, but we saw what the incredible trade that ultimately happened there. They got Marc Gasol in return if you're Memphis, so that was the best part of that trade for them. But come on, the Lakers were able to resurrect a second great run with Kobe Bryant there and win another title. I mean, how many times do the Lakers keep pulling rabbit after rabbit after rabbit out of their hat? It's just incredible to me. Now, I understand there was a lot of fan bases outside of Dallas that were hoping Luka was going to be traded, that he might become unhappy there in Dallas. Dallas just got to the NBA Finals. Dallas is building a very nice roster around him, a very very Luka Doncic friendly roster. Now, is it good enough to win the championship this year? I think there's still one more elite wing away. Now, are they better? Are they closer to a championship this year now that they've made the trade for Anthony Davis? I don't think so. Anthony Davis, I'm curious how old he is. I can't remember off the top of my head. Anthony Davis is 31 years old. So at best, you're going to have, 2-3 more years of prime Anthony Davis left? So by the time he's a free agent at the end of his contract, you've already seen his best years go behind him. And as big men get older, they usually don't hold up very well as far as from injury. You got Kyrie Irving in the prime of his career, getting towards the very end of his prime as well. I get it. That, this is the impact type of a piece coming back. But where's the picks, man? Where's the future in this trade for the Mavericks? You just traded the entirety of the future for the Dallas Mavericks in this deal, and you're getting back Anthony Davis, who you might have 3 prime years left and 1 first-round pick. I'm going to go back over to X because I'm wondering if there's more picks involved here. I'm still curious if there's any other picks going to be going here. AD Kyrie makes a ton of sense. Yes. Luka and LeBron less so, but star power, yes, absolutely. Just crazy contracts as well. I get it. But where are the picks, man? We just talked about the Kevin Durant trade. Mikal Bridges just went to the New York Knicks for how many different pieces? Cam Johnson's going to go this trade deadline for how many more pieces as well? Kevin Durant gets traded for how many first-round picks? So they traded one player in Kevin Durant and got all of these assets back. The Mavericks just traded Luka Dončić, and what are they getting back here? A player at 31 years old, in the back half of his prime, that at best gives you 3 to 4 more years of prime level talent. I am hurting if I'm a Mavericks fan today. I feel sorry for all my fellow Mavericks fans out there that this is the trade that happens. It is very tough to see your franchise player go, absolutely. But at least you think there's a silver lining, that there's going to be some picks ahead, that there's going to be some young talent coming back, that you're going to get a star player in return. Now, Anthony Davis is a very good and elite star player. Don't get me wrong. But he's not Luka Dončić. He doesn't have the future of a Luka Dončić. And you're telling me you're getting 1 first-round pick out of this deal? Boy, oh boy, is this a huge miss. Devin, Mark, Hank, Under the Bridge, JS, Sean, Hank, appreciate all you guys joining us tonight. Incredible, incredible deal here. NBA is in serious decline, so Silver decided to spice it up a bit. I don't know about that. It's not in serious decline to me. Sure, some numbers as far as TV are down, but I think the NBA on a whole is still doing incredible amounts of money. I don't think they're necessarily worried about that one. Alberto, give up. LBJ, the Lakers need to stop acting like they owe LBJ. Bad move. This is not a bad move for the Lakers. They got a much younger player in Luka Dončić that could be the future face of the NBA for a player who might have 3 years left of his prime, 1 first-round pick, and a rotation player. Are you kidding me? The Lakers just fleeced the Mavericks in this trade if that's what they ultimately get done. I saw a trade earlier today. PJ Tucker, Mo Bamba, and some other pieces were moved between the Clippers and Jazz. I thought, that's an interesting trade. Maybe the Mavericks would ultimately try to bring in a PJ Tucker to give them some insurance at the wing position. That'd be the type of move I'd see the Mavericks making this year with a Maxi Kleber deal. But no. We get a crazy trade, one of the most surprising trade, if not the most surprising trade in the entire NBA history. Luka Dončić going to the Lakers for Anthony Davis and a pick. Come on, man. This is a rough one. I feel sorry for my fellow Mavericks fans. I'm elated if I'm a Lakers fan, which I am not. But look at what the Lakers core is now for the future. How quickly they've spun an old, aging team that had no future with picks that were gone out the window because LeBron went there and wanted to try to win. And now they're going to have a future built around Luka Dončić, Austin Reeves, and Connect. I mean, and then who knows what happens with LeBron as far as how many more years he plays. I mean, boy, oh boy, this is absolutely an incredible deal. Don't get me wrong. Lakers did an absolute great job, masterclass as far as a trade once again. Again, I'm going to go back to my point just a minute ago. How many times are other teams in the NBA going to keep bailing out the Los Angeles Lakers with trades like this? There's got to be more coming back to Dallas. This is probably one of the most I'll take that back. This is the most surprising out-of-nowhere trade in the entire NBA history, and I don't say that lightly. Face of the franchise, possibly future face of the entire NBA, locked up for 3 more years, team built around him, free agent moves made with his consent, trades made with his instigation. He had the entire Dallas Mavericks organization by the tail. I mean, come on. He had that thing wired. And I get it. Maybe you don't want to be beholden to a player like that. We saw how LeBron holds that much power in some other places, and it doesn't work out so well. But you got to say, the Mavericks, for how much they've been giving to Luka, they've been getting a good return on that investment. He is one of the best players in the NBA offensively, if not the best offensive player in the NBA. Defensively, he certainly has his liabilities, but they have certainly built this roster up around him. They brought Kyrie Irving to give him a second banana there. They bring in Derek Lively as far as a draft asset, really a good center that Luka Doncic can play with. Daniel Gafford, another great rim-running center that he can play with. I mean, just incredible team building that they've done around him. And yes, big risk with some of the picks they traded to ultimately build around him. Mavericks still had a bright future, though. And now that future, gone. Just like that. Because now you're going to be focusing on a 3-year run here with Kyrie Irving, Anthony Davis. I mean, I'm not sure what the trade incentive here is for the Mavericks. Anthony Davis, yes, fills a huge need for the Mavericks. I was just thinking the other day that the Mavericks miss Kristaps Porzingis as far as the offense that he brings to the team. The Mavericks center rotation is very nice. P.J. Washington is a better utilized at the 3 position for me. He's a really good lockdown defender. But they missed that offensive punch from that power forward center position. They needed somebody in that front court that could handle things offensively. And they get that with Anthony Davis. Don't get me wrong. And they've got some good young guards on this roster for the Mavericks. I say young with asterisks. They still are mainly led by veterans. But this team was doing very well. They just made it to the NBA Finals last year. This year looked like a bit of a miss of a year after all the injuries that have beset this team. Derek Lively, Luka Doncic, Maxi Kleber, and others have missed several games due to injury this year. But you mortgage the entire future of the franchise by trading away your centerpiece of this team, 25 years old, for a 31-year-old power forward who's got maybe 3 to 4 good years left, prime basketball. Now, like I said, this is going to be an all-in move for the Mavericks over the next 3 or 4 years. So I don't expect them to keep those picks, the few picks that they do have. But boy, oh boy, this is an absolute fleece of a job by the Los Angeles Lakers. Just incredible here. Caleb, welcome in. Let's see here. Charles, Upside Sports Network. It was the Mavs that initiated the trade per Shams. I mean, it would have to be. I mean, I'm sure other teams had made calls just to kind of gauge the interest, to see if Luka was available. But I'm sure if they were interested in making a trade here, the Mavericks had to be the ones to really go about the trade here. I don't think the Lakers really thought there was any way they could have pried a player like Luka Doncic at this deadline. Now, I don't really know what the Lakers are going to do with that front court. Maybe they try to convince the Mavericks to trade them Daniel Gafford at this point. Maybe they try to go back to the Mavericks again for a Derek Lively. But that would be an option I could see them going for. Jimmy Butler, I don't think is a realistic option for them. Maybe you try to move on Klay Thompson over to the Lakers now. That could be a possibility there. But where's the front court player now for the Lakers? Just like I was talking about how the Mavericks were missing kind of that offensive scoring from a front court player. I guess maybe LeBron becomes that front court player, and maybe they go a little bit smaller defensively. I would wonder about their defense with Luka and aging LeBron and some issues defensively in that power forward spot now that Davis is gone. Big issues for them as far as the on-court structure of that team. But now you get a franchise player for the next 15 to 20 years, or 10 to 15 years anyway. And the Mavericks ultimately get 3 years of Anthony Davis. Shams, on the screen here, Mavs approached the Lakers recently and offered Luka Doncic. Lakers brass met and believe that Luka Doncic has the ability to face the franchise for the next decade, while Anthony Davis is a win-now move for Dallas. Absolutely. Mark Stein, here's a tweet from him. Luka Doncic did not request a trade. Surprising there as well. Maybe it might have been motivated by the player, but ultimately does not sound like that is the case. The Mavericks did this of their own accord, getting back Anthony Davis, but only one future first-round pick for a future 25-year-old who's regarded as a future MVP. Miss. Can I say it any louder? The Dallas Mavericks did an absolute miss in this trade. Now, let's look at it from the Lakers' perspective. They're getting a 25-year-old who's a great offensive player. You're getting some defensive liabilities there. What does this mean for them in 25? I think they're going to be a team that kind of treads water. It will be interesting to watch once we get to the postseason. The Mavericks, meanwhile, have been treading water without Luka Doncic. Immediately, they'll have a healthy Anthony Davis into their lineup, and this team is built to win right now. The leader on this team, the vocal leader on this team, has been Kyrie Irving. Kind of a very different Kyrie Irving than what we saw during his years with the Cleveland Cavaliers, Boston Celtics, Brooklyn Nets. Mavericks Kyrie is a very different player, so I guess he's now the quote-unquote face of the franchise. But my question is, who's the future of this franchise? You got two players that are over the age of 30 that are now the centerpieces of this team. What does the future of this team hold? What do the other players on this team ultimately react to? Yes, it's a win now move, but how's the fit for Gafford? What's the fit for Lively? I'm very curious to see what the long-term thought process is for Dallas here. Maybe they just didn't think Luka was a great piece for them defensively, that it would always keep them from winning a title because of the defensive liability he was. But they've done a great job covering up those deficiencies by drafting a center in Derek Lively, trading for a center in Daniel Gafford, bringing in P.J. Washington, who's done a great job defensively, signing Najee Marshall, bringing in some other veterans on this team that can help out as far as some scoring around Luka Doncic. As much difficulty as Klay Thompson has been getting in the media for his performance over the last couple of years, he's still one of the best catch-and-shoot three-point shooters even this season. Now, does he have issues coming off the dribble, creating his own shot? Yes. And does his field goal percentage drop as a result? Yes, it does. But when Luka Doncic is healthy, his numbers go up from the three-point line, and I'm very curious to see what this means for the other players on the Dallas Mavericks roster as well. Dirk is going to be pissed. I don't know. I think Dirk is going to be always for the Dallas Mavericks, but I'm shocked, by this trade. As far as Dirk is concerned, I'm sure he is shocked as well. He's going to be a part of the broadcast team for the new Amazon studios there. I'm curious to get his reaction as well, but boy, oh boy, this is just incredible that the Lakers are once again able to do this type of a trade here. Let me scroll up here and just see if anything else is going on. Love to get Dirk's thoughts. Yes. If you proposed this trade to the Mavericks in 2K, it would be rejected. Yes, it would. On the surface, it would look like the Lakers are violating the first apron rule and using more than 100% traded player exception. However, Markieff Morris was acquired using the veteran minimum exception, and it is allowed. Interesting. Tim Cato, Mavericks beat reporter. Most unexpected and also dumbest move I've ever seen in my entire career. Right there with you, Mr. Cato. I do not get this one at all. Mavs film room. Kyrie Irving outlasting Luka Doncic on a team with Anthony Davis on it is insane. Absolutely. They got one first-round pick for Luka Doncic. He's going to be 30 years old in 29, well in his prime. Couldn't agree more. I mean, Dorian Finney-Smith is there with the Lakers. They get a reunion there. Just, oh my goodness. I love this tweet here. Good on the Lakers, shame on the Mavs. Utterly disgraceful. Oh my God. Oh my God. Mark Stein, the Mavericks and Luka Doncic until tonight were heading toward a 5-year contract extension in July worth $345 million. Dallas GM Nico Harrison made the call to abruptly change the direction of the franchise with one of the most stunning trades in league history. You think? I would say it's certifiable the most stunning trade in NBA history. We always clown some of the craziest trades we've ever seen. Mike Ditka trading an entire draft for Ricky Williams. We talk about the Herschel Walker trade from the Dallas Cowboys to the Minnesota Vikings. We talk about in baseball some of the craziest trades we've ever seen. Babe Ruth and the curse. We saw the Rangers, for Dallas people, the Rangers made the trade of Mark Teixeira and built a World Series contending team with the results of that trade. None of those are on par with this trade to me. Just completely out of nowhere. Mavericks were one of my first favorite teams ever in professional sports. Dirk Nowitzki, my hero, besides my dad, my only other hero that I've ever had in life. Basketball is one of my first loves. And to see them trade their franchise player, absolutely incredible move by the Lakers. Stunning move. Disgusting move for the Mavericks. I don't know how to put this into words other than that. If you're a Lakers fan, you got to be celebrating. You could not have pulled off a better trade if you could have tried in 2K. You couldn't have pulled one off better than this. Mavericks, meanwhile, you get a player 31 years old, only a few years left of his prime, win now move, and only get one first-round pick. I'll reiterate the Kevin Durant trade again. I want to go back and look at it. Because this is just incredible to me. 4 first-round picks and a pick swap. They got Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson. 4 first-round picks and a swap. Mavericks get 1, and that's just a straight-up trade for Kevin Durant. Let's go back. Mikal Bridges. Five first-round picks to Brooklyn in exchange for Mikal Bridges. 4 plus 5 is how many already? That's 9 picks and a swap. Now, sure, you got a player like Anthony Davis out of it. Maybe you turn around and trade Anthony Davis. My, oh my, what a crazy, crazy trade. And I'm not even counting what they're going to get for Cam Johnson yet. I mean, Cam Johnson, I would rather have at this point than Anthony Davis. I get it. Anthony Davis is a better player. Cam Johnson has a brighter future going forward. And you could probably have had Luka Doncic and brought in Cam Johnson rather than do this. Now, I'm not saying it would have been easy for the Mavericks to pull off. You probably would have had to have traded Daniel Gafford in that trade. You probably would have had to include other first-round picks in that trade as well. But boy, oh boy, what a crazy trade we're having here. Graham, you're not even this charged up when the Angels make dumb moves. Yeah, I mean, the Angels make incredibly moronic moves when they were dealing with Shohei Ohtani. This is probably my favorite team ever when I was a kid. Still is to some degree. And they are now on the board for possibly one of the dumbest trades in professional sports history. Just now we get a tweet here. The Mavericks had issues about his conditioning. Well, yeah, I mean, every offseason he has some type of conditioning issue. I get it. But come on, man. This is just absolutely crazy. Bobby Marks, I have never seen so many team executives not involved in this trade stunned. No kidding. They absolutely got hosed in this deal. Now, I'm wondering if there's going to be some issues here. I'm wondering if the backlash on this deal might cause a snafu. I have not seen a tweet here that says, yes, this trade is officially done. I'm still waiting to see if it's actually official. I mean, let me go down to Sham's tweet here and just see if it is official. Because I can't remember if he said it was official or not. Just incredible deal. There's got to be more picks coming. I mean, you look at the trade that Kevin Durant got. An older player past his prime gets you 4 first-round picks, a probably Defensive Player of the Year candidate in Mikal Bridges, and a very good young piece in Cam Johnson. And the Mavericks trade 25-year-old Luka Dončić, a future MVP. And you're telling me you only get 1 first-round freaking pick out of it? Oh, my goodness. Does the league have to approve the trade? Yes, they do. But it's not like the Lakers whenever they were, or like the Pelicans anyway, when they were owned by the league. I doubt you'd see them nix this trade because it was so lopsided that they don't think it should go through. But my goodness. I mean, what the heck are we doing here if you're a Mavericks fan? I mean, oh my God. Rafe, we are legit the most stupid franchise the world has ever seen. Traded in for peanuts and a dinosaur. I wouldn't say a dinosaur yet. Let's not be too harsh on Anthony Davis. Again, you still got 3 years. It is a complete win-now move for the Mavericks. But I'm not sure it's a win-now move because I think you're trading away the best player in the deal. And that's right now. Anthony Davis, to me, while he's more of a complete two-way player and fills a big need for the Mavericks to me offensively, you're trading the future of the entire freaking franchise for 10 to 15 years for 3-4 years of Anthony Davis and Kyrie freaking Irving. One other thing I want to look at here is the way the roster is currently set up for the Mavericks. Let's just look at their roster. Kyrie Irving. He has a 2 years left on his deal. I mean, this is a very short runway right now for the Mavericks to be able to even compete. They make the addition of Klay Thompson in the offseason with the expectation the acquisition will be most important for them once they get to playoff basketball. I mean, what the heck are we doing here? My head is absolutely spinning here. I apologize, guys, if I keep repeating myself, but I cannot reiterate how stunning this trade is, how badly this trade has gone for the Mavericks right now, and it's only been, 50 minutes since it's been announced? I'm curious to see what other pieces might ultimately be involved here, but oh my God. We've seen some lopsided trades in the history of in professional sports. Some really lopsided trades, some really ugly ones. Anthony Davis is waiving his trade kicker? Why? Why? He wanted to be a member of the Los Angeles Lakers. His trade kicker would have made him, another $6 million here? He wanted to play with the Lakers. He worked his entire time there with the Pelicans to be able to move to the Lakers, and then they trade him away to the Dallas Mavericks? Come on, man. This trade just does not make sense from top to bottom. One, I get the issues that the Mavericks front office might have had a change of heart. So be it. Maybe you just want to go out there and, have a better, well-rounded player. Okay, so be it. Why are we trading a future MVP of the league, or a player that's seen as a future MVP of the league, to the Los Angeles Lakers with an older, aging roster, and ultimately get one first-round pick and a 31-year-old power forward who, yes, is still in the prime of his career and answers a lot of questions for this team right now? But I can't say that the Mavericks are better, certainly for next year or the year after that. Certainly not for the next 10 to 15 years, because Luka is going to be there for the Lakers. Anthony Davis might not even finish this contract as a member of the Mavericks. Oh my God. Rigged? I don't know about that. I just think Nico Harrison made his first real bonehead trade of his career, and this might be the last bonehead move of his career. He might not make it through the end of the year. He made a shrewd move getting Kyrie Irving. Nobody thought he had value. Everybody thought he was a head case. He made the right move there and got him in, got him right, and things have worked out well, far better than anybody could have hoped for. Jason Kidd as the head coach, of course. A lot of negative press around that hire when it was done because of the domestic violence stuff. Ultimately, that move has worked out as well. The trade for Daniel Gafford, absolute work of genius there. Trading a pick swap in order to get the pieces needed to get it done. Great move. P.J. Washington was an expensive trade, but a very valuable trade for the Mavericks. Absolutely great deal there as well. Derek Lively is on the team there. They've done some nice job bringing in Najee Marshall, Spencer Dinwiddie to kind of fill in holes on this roster as well. But the future of your franchise is Luka Dončić, and you trade him for Anthony Davis, a first-round pick, and a rotation player. Let's say Max Christie becomes an eventual starter. Still not worth it. Let's say Anthony Davis, works out and has, 5, 6, 7 great years left. Say Kyrie Irving re-signs and stays there another 5, 6, 7 years. Which, by the way, he may leave for the Lakers next year as well. Who knows what happens with the center combination with Lively and Gafford now that Davis is in here. What happens with the rest of this roster? Because Klay Thompson, to me, is not exactly a tradable asset right now. You got him for a couple more years after this one. This is just the craziest trade I've seen in NBA history. Just incredible. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up with some of these tweets as they come in on my phone. All my friends are messaging me right now going, couldn't you believe this trade? Here's the Dirk reaction here. Just completely stunned like all of us. I mean, the only way this trade, I'm going to try to look through it through the eyes of Nico Harrison. What could he be seeing that this trade is worth it? Okay, I've got a player who struggles to come into camp with conditioning that's up to snuff for at least the national media. We think he's actually been working on his craft, but we still don't think the conditioning is there. He has his liabilities on defense, gets injured and misses games from time to time. He is the focal point and the engine of our offense, and when he's not there, our offense completely suffers. When he is on the floor, he's a magician with the basketball. He directs everything on this team. Everything runs in this organization through him. We've built this roster around him. We've traded several future first-round picks to build this roster. So we've mortgaged our future. So I have a change of heart, and I think the conditioning issues are too much of an issue. I don't think that him being a defensive liability on the floor is tenable enough anymore to where I now have to trade him in order to have a championship-level roster. Okay, I've got that mindset. I'm going to trade Luka Dončić. What am I going to trade him for? Well, I want a star player back. Okay, I get Anthony Davis. Now, Anthony Davis does not have the future Luka Dončić has. He doesn't even have the talent that Luka Dončić has at the present moment. What am I going to get in addition to Anthony Davis? Kevin Durant gets you 4 first-round picks, a defensive player of the year who's a strong rotation player as well, and Cam Johnson, a promising young player who's averaging 20 a night right now for the Brooklyn Nets. Mikal Brooks gets traded from the Brooklyn Nets to the Knicks anyway for 5 first-rounders and an expiring deal. What do I get in the trade? I get Anthony Davis, a star from the centerpiece of this team, and I get a first-round pick and a rotation player. Max Christie is not Cam Johnson in this trade. There is no Mikal Bridges in this trade. Anthony Davis, to me, is a little bit better player than Mikal Bridges. So, okay, maybe you don't get 4 first-round picks from the Lakers. They don't have that many picks to give you anyway. It's announced that it's a 3-team deal. Okay, Utah has all these extra first-round picks. Maybe they're going to be sending some your way in addition, or in order for them to get some pieces back their way as well. Maybe that's what they're trying to do there. No. The Jazz take on 1 piece and a couple of second-round picks for their trouble. Mavericks, meanwhile, get Anthony Davis, a player at 31 years old, in the middle of his prime with a few good years left, absolutely. They're a good team still now, even with Anthony Davis. But they have nowhere near the future that they had just an hour ago with Luka Dončić. Now, I'm still waiting to see if this trade actually goes through, waiting to see the final details, waiting to see it on NBA.com of the trade being official. I want to see every single detail of that deal. Are there any conditions on that pick? Is it protected or is it completely unprotected? Because now with Luka Dončić on that roster, even if it is unprotected, I think they're going to be in the postseason. So that pick is going to be outside of the lottery. That ain't going to be a great pick. So this trade essentially is for a draft pick, a decent rotation player who could be a starter eventually, and Anthony Davis. Nowhere near the return that you should be getting for Luka Dončić. Let's focus on the return here for the Lakers. What are they getting here in Luka Dončić? They're getting a future MVP, at least a player that's on track to be. A player that's seen as the next LeBron James in the league. Now, is anybody going to be LeBron James ever again? I don't think so. I think LeBron is one of a kind. I think he is the absolute face of the franchise right now. I think he is the face of the league right now. Luka Dončić has been seen as that heir apparent for now the last few years. There were some players who might have been thought of as that player. Anthony Edwards in Minnesota could be that player. You know, the Boston Celtics right now have a great roster. But you look at that Lakers team. This was a team built around LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Davis was seen as the heir apparent here to LeBron James as they go forward. They did not look as a franchise that had a bright future. Barely any first-round picks that they had left to trade. They should have and could have included other pieces in this deal to get it done. I'm curious to see if there's any other issues as well. Here's the tweet from Tim McMahon. The Mavs had major issues about moving forward with Luka Dončić due to his constant conditioning issues and looming commitment of another Supermax contract extension this summer. Thought I just saw a tweet anyway from Brad Townsend. Let me see if I can pull that one up. One of the beat writers for the Dallas Mavericks anyway. Not sure if I have him in my basketball list, but let me make sure. There we go. Okay, so Dave McMenamin tweets, LeBron James learned of the Davis-Doncic trade after the Knicks game when it broke while he was out to dinner with his family, sources close to James told ESPN. James was surprised by the news, is processing it, and had no idea it was in the works. So LeBron did not orchestrate this one. Then he says, I'm told that the call to the NBA, the trade parameters, and gaining league approval hasn't occurred yet. It's about 15 minutes away. Wow. I'm wondering if there's other details still to come on this deal, because I still think this is one of the most, if not the most lopsided trade, not just in NBA history, but in the history of sports. I mean, Ricky Williams to the Saints for an entire draft class has got to be up there. Herschel Walker from the Cowboys for so many draft picks that they built a championship team off of it. All those years ago from the Minnesota Vikings. That's got to be on that list as well. Babe Ruth here. And then just this trade here just completely bails the Lakers out as far as how they built this team. They were completely reliant on LeBron James saving this team from obscurity when Kobe Bryant retired and ultimately passed away, unfortunately for him. May he rest in peace. But LeBron bailed that organization out and got them another championship, another NBA Finals victory. They were beholden to LeBron to get this thing to where it was. They bring in Anthony Davis, seen as the future of the franchise going forward, but they have very few assets going forward. But they've done a nice job with the assets that they did acquire. Austin Reeves, Dalton Connect. Now you have LeBron and Luka Doncic at least for this year. You make the trade for Dorian Finney-Smith. You're going to have to play real small. But you trade away Anthony Davis, and you don't have to trade whatever valuable pieces you have left. You don't even have to include Dalton Connect in this deal. You don't have to include Austin Reeves in this deal. You give up Anthony Davis, absolutely the centerpiece of this deal. But you can't say that the Lakers did not solidify the future of this franchise in one fell swoop with Luka Doncic. This is worse than the Browns trade. I mean, the trade they made for Deshaun Watson, completely crazy that they gave him the guaranteed deal and gave up picks to get it done. That was one of the worst in NFL history, in my opinion. Nico didn't call 29 teams. I mean, what other teams was he going to call? How many other teams would have had a better offer for Luka? I would say several. I would say Utah absolutely might have gotten a better offer on the table for Luka Doncic. I'm sure that there are other teams that come to mind. I know Nikola Jokic would love to play with Luka Doncic. Maybe they could have sent Jamal Murray and several picks to the Mavericks. That's a possibility there as well. But this trade, absolutely crazy here. Just absolutely freaking crazy. What about the Phillies trading 5 guys for Von Hayes? Your opinion is wrong. That's okay, man. You can be a fan. That's fine. Luka for AD is fair for both superstars? I don't think so. Anthony Davis and Luka Doncic might be close as far as talent right now, but you're telling me 3 years of prime Anthony Davis is worth 10 to 15 years of Luka Doncic? Come on. What are we talking about? Ethan should have traded Luka for Giannis. I don't think the Bucks would have done that one. Mainly because I don't think that they would have been able to structure a trade that would make sense for them or us. That one, Mavs win the trade? I don't think so. I don't think there's a structure there with Luka and Giannis. I know there were some fan trades out there that were possible, but honestly, I mean, I'm not even worried about the woulda, coulda, shouldas with Luka right now. I'm just looking at the trade itself and looking at it going, Luka got traded, 25 years old, for a 31-year-old player who's got 3 years left. Luka's 25, dude. Come at me again when he's 40 years old and still in the league. I'll say on the low end he's 35. I mean, look at the players on in the league right now. Kyrie's 32 years old and is on getting towards the back half of his prime right now. One player that comes to mind right now is Kevin Durant. Let me pull him up real quick just because I want to kind of pull up this comparison here. He's 36 years old. You're telling me Luka can't play for 11 more years and be a Kevin Durant type player? You're good, Hank. You're good. He doesn't take care of himself. He takes care of himself good enough to be able to be one of the most special players in the NBA. And when he's on the floor, you can't say he's not one of the best, if not the best, offensive players in the NBA. I'm not saying he's a two-way player. I've never said he's a two-way player. He's a pretty good defender down in the post, at times when he's committed. But that's, again, at times when he's committed and in shape. Those are fewer and farther between. So I get that standpoint of why Nico might have been looking for some other differences here. But I'm pretty sure if this trade goes through, that we will see a changing of the guard rather quickly in that Mavericks front office. It'll make heads spin. Because this franchise right now, I mean, how often do you get to draft the future of your franchise while your current future or your current face of the franchise is still on the roster? I mean, look at the Green Bay Packers, for instance, of their quarterback position. You go from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers. How often does that happen in the NFL? In the NBA, Dirk, face of the franchise for all those years, steward of the franchise. You go from him immediately into the Luka Doncic era. Two different players, absolutely. But how often does that happen that it works out that way? I mean, to me, I'm just going to do a hypothetical trade here just to kind of show you what I would have done. I'm just going to do this for kicks and giggles at this point because we already know what the trade is. Let me see here. Go away. Add a third team. We know Utah's a part of this trade here, so let's go ahead and throw him in the Utah Jazz in this trade. You trade Luka to the Lakers. Kleba to the Lakers. Markieff to the Lakers. Christie goes to the Mavs. AD goes to the Mavs. The 29 first goes to the Mavs. Now they don't have to worry about that value either. Because again, now they have the face of their franchise during that 29 season if they get that Supermax extension done, which I'm sure he will absolutely get it done. Ultimately, what was the player, Jalen that got traded? Along with a couple of second-round picks to the Jazz. There's basically your trade there with a couple of second-rounders going out. Let's look at some of what else could the Mavericks have done here to make this trade a little bit better. To me, you already brought in Dorian Finney-Smith. You couldn't trade him again unless you're matching salary for salary here. You're going to be hard capped as well, so maybe you could have done a Daniel Gafford for Dorian Finney-Smith, but Dallas wants to keep Daniel Gafford for that value. You're not going to do something like that. What could the Mavericks have gotten that would have been a better value to them? You don't want Christian Wood. Dalton Knecht, to me, would have had to have been in this trade to get this deal done. Low-cost salary. I mean, the player I would have given up to get this one across the finish line. Maybe you throw in Dwight Powell going out to the Lakers. Again, to me, this trade is so lopsided, even by including Dalton Knecht and Dwight Powell, it still doesn't get them close to the value here. Picks, what else could they have gotten? Lakers only really had one other first-round pick to trade. Maybe you do swaps here in 3 straight years in 26, 28, and 30. That still doesn't get it close to me. So you even include another first-round pick, 3 pick swaps, and Dalton Knecht, and you still don't get close, in my opinion. Mavs literally just gave away the franchise. Congratulations, Lakers fans. Hope you guys, work out. I'll be cheering for Luka. One of the most fun players to watch in the NBA, and just hoping it works out. But for for the Mavericks, this is going to be one of the darkest days in franchise history. And we'll see what it looks like going forward. All right, let's go back over to X, just see if anything else is happening right now. There's a lot of emotion on the Mavericks side right now. This deal materialized in the shadows. LeBron James had no idea it was coming. Anthony Davis had no idea. I'm told Luka Doncic is still stunned about this trade. No kidding. I think the entire world is right now. Yeah. Luka is targeting a February 8th return, so right after the trade deadline is when he will be back. Jazz are sending $55,000 each to the Lakers and Mavericks in this deal. Who cares? I mean, God. Let me tell you something, Fresh. Bitter Mavs fan, let me tell you something here. Ask any fan of any other fan base on the planet right now, would you trade a 25-year-old player, even with conditioning issues, that is considered the best offensive player in the league, for a player that's 31 years old that may have a few years left of his prime and not get much else? I mean, this is an absolute fleecing of a trade. I would say that Gafford or Lively is expendable now. Lively, I would say, probably stays on the roster because he's injured for a couple of months. Gafford, I think there's a real possibility they could move on from him before the trade deadline. Do not be surprised if this is the first domino to fall here. The trade deadline is the 6th. Just crazy trade today, but, I mean, this is just incredible. Do the Lakers have a center to replace Davis? Let's look at their roster in case you were wondering. People with size on this team, you're looking at Vanderbilt on this roster. He's only 6'8", though. Wood is 6'8". Jackson Hayes is probably your first guess here. But they need some more size on this roster. They don't really have any size, and so they're going to have to play real small. LeBron James at 6'9", Maxi Kleber at 6'10", Markieff Morris, at 6'9". Those are going to be some of your tallest players. They were already seeking a center. Maybe Jonas Valanciunas is now an option there. Maybe they trade Maxi Kleber to the Washington Wizards to bring him in. I'm told it's going to only take a couple of second-round picks to get that one across the finish line. If they're willing to take back Maxi is the bigger question there. Mavericks do get off the contract of Maxi Kleber. That does help them out. As far as Max Christie, they do have him signed up for 4 years. So you got to hope that's part of the reason why you're doing it there. Looking at the player itself in Max Christie, I haven't really talked about him much. Signed on a team-friendly deal itself for around $7 million. I want to look at his stats a little bit here. 44 games, shooting 36% from 3, 43 from 2, or in total anyway. He is an ascending player, but again, that's not the ascending player you want. You want Dalton Connect. At least AD got 4 years on the deal. True, but again, I'm not sure he finishes that 4-year deal with the Mavericks at this point. I'm wondering if they end up trading him for other pieces in a couple of years. This is like trading Joe Burrow for Russell Wilson, bro. Maybe the last year of Russell Wilson there in Seattle, maybe trading Joe Burrow for him at that point. I wouldn't say it's like comparing Russell Wilson now in exchange for Joe Burrow, but I would say the end of the tenure there in Seattle with Russell Wilson, trading him to the Cincinnati Bengals would be kind of the comparable thing there. If Seattle included 1 pick and Russell Wilson in exchange for Joe Burrow in his prime, I think that would be very comparable. But boy, oh boy, what a crazy deal. Appreciate you guys joining us tonight. Just one of the craziest trades we've seen in NBA history. I'm just waiting to see the official announcement that the trade is official here. Brad Townsend. I am told that this was Nico Harrison's deal and it took several weeks to play out after the Mavericks reached out to the Lakers and that Harrison got full support from Mavericks Governor Patrick Dumont. Ugh. This is just ugly, man. I mean, trades usually blindside players if they're trades of this caliber. I get it. Sometimes they'll try to consult with the player and see if they can get that extension done. But if the Mavericks were the party that was not comfortable with the extension, then they're not going to go to Luka and say, hey, we're not necessarily comfortable extending you to 345 with your conditioning issues, health on the court, etc. If they really had issues with that, they would have kept that to themselves and gone about it the way they did. Now, I will say, there are no words, like you say there, Lucas. There are no words for the sheer lack of competence here in the return for the trade here. That's a good comparison there, Ethan. It'd be like Joe Burrow now for Matthew Stafford. That's a very good comparison there. And it kind of fits with the LA theme there with Matt Stafford. Stafford's still a good quarterback. Davis is still a good player. But the clear future there is Joe Burrow. Alrighty. Well, I'm like I said, I'm trying to stay until this thing goes official. The trade call was said to be 15 minutes away about 10 minutes ago from Brad Townsend and Mark Stein. I'm just waiting for this trade call because I'm waiting to see what other pieces are involved. I'm sure we'll do a live about it tomorrow and kind of discuss this one. But this is just one of the most incredible, most shocking trades I've seen in NBA history for certain. Just the lack of return here for the Mavericks is the shocking part to me. I'm not rushing out to buy an Anthony Davis jersey because, again, I'm not sure how long he's going to be here. I'm not sure how long Kyrie's going to be here. I'm not sure how long Daniel Gafford is going to be here. I'm not sure how long Klay Thompson is going to be here. That should tell you all pretty much, what this trade means for the Mavericks going forward. They gave up their entire future in this trade with Luka Dončić for a very short-term period of time here with Anthony Davis, that if it works, so be it. It's great, awesome, would love to see another championship in Dallas. But I'll say this, the Mavericks have one NBA Finals to their credit, and that was 2011 with the Dallas Mavericks, or when Dirk Nowitzki was the captain of the ship. They stuck through it. They built the roster. They kept the chemistry, which is what they seem to have been doing with Luka Dončić. And now, just like that, they've changed the entire course of the franchise. They've traded the entire future of the franchise. You see some of the most valuable trade asset lists come out every year from guys like Bobby Marks that say, what this player would be worth on the open market. What would you be willing to trade this player for? Luka Dončić is perennially one of the most valuable trade commodities in the entire NBA. And you're telling me you only get Anthony Davis? Maybe if you'd gotten Anthony Davis, say, 6 years ago, when he was 25 years old, then I'd think this trade is a lot more balanced. Maybe then the one first-round pick would be worth it. Heck, maybe I'd have thought Anthony Davis would have the brighter future out of the two. But we know where Anthony Davis is. We know what he became. We know what he has left in the tank. And we know how many good prime years he has left at best. With that being said, the Mavericks just traded their entire future of their franchise for Anthony Davis. That's a tough one. The only good thing is Dallas knows something about Luka that no one else does. I don't think so. I mean, the conditioning here seems to be the one thing that national media is reporting right now. Yeah. Fresh, dude, stop crying, please. You see my eyes glistening? I ain't crying about it. I'm more frustrated about the trade itself. It doesn't make sense. I keep talking about how I like smart decisions being made. The one team in baseball that I always get onto is the Los Angeles Angels because of how they dealt with Shohei Ohtani at the end. Complete organizational malpractice from top to bottom. The final 2 years Shohei Ohtani was there. Honestly, it was a poorly run franchise even before that with the free agent decisions that they made. The decisions that they made, to me, are still worse. But the trade here of Luka Dončić, the trade of the future of the franchise, rivals the organizational malpractice that the Angels did there. That's what I'll say. Ethan, AD is cold at defense, and Dallas defense is about to be cold. Lakers need Luka, so they got him. Luka is a problem. Yes, he is. Luka's a very good offensive player. I love the player. I hope he does well out there in LA. Will give me a reason to actually cheer for LA even more than I might have if I was a LeBron fan, which I enjoy LeBron James from time to time, but I'm not actively cheering for him. Luka's a player I can root for, and I'm hoping he does well out there in LA and takes over as the face of the franchise once LeBron is done. But this is a trade that literally came out of nowhere, and yeah. Dallas made the decision a couple of years ago to kind of move on from Jalen Brunson. They said he wasn't really worth the contract. They thought, losing the ball handler here in Jalen Brunson, that they'd be able to get another guy in there that they were ultimately able to bring in the trade for Kristaps Porzingis that turned into Kyrie Irving later on. Obviously, you'd say that you'd rather have Jalen Brunson at this point and the financial resources that they would have around him rather than having committed to Luka Doncic at this point. But I still think Luka, they made the right decision all along, keeping Luka, building the team around Luka since the moment he was drafted, and doing everything right as far as I'm concerned, building around and making a team-friendly type of atmosphere here. But make no mistake, this trade, it says a lot about the Mavericks and their future going forward, and it opens the doors wide open for the Los Angeles Lakers. This is a team in Los Angeles that was viewed as, say, maybe 1-2 more years with LeBron there, that they would stay a competitive team, that if everything worked right, that they might be competitive to at least make a run in the postseason, but in the playoffs anyway. But nobody was expecting them to win another finals, even with LeBron there and AD. Certainly after LeBron would retire, it would take some time for them to build up some capital there. Dalton Connect was a good young piece. Reeves is a good young piece for them. But they didn't really have a superstar in the making there. You had Anthony Davis. You had a couple more years left of his prime. I think it would only been a matter of time until they traded him to see what other young pieces they could get and kind of build for the future at that point. But now that they've reset their entire franchise in one fell swoop by trading a 31-year-old Anthony Davis for Luka Doncic. Now, of course, the issues that on Dallas are going to be the same issues there with LA. Conditioning is still going to be a concern. Defense is still going to be a concern. How many games is he able to play is also going to be a concern. But you already have those issues with LeBron James and Anthony Davis on that roster, so they're comfortable playing with and without superstars in that lineup, and this completely resets their franchise going forward. They now have a future there, and the Lakers, hats off to them for what they were able to do. Let's see here. Sources on the Mavericks initiating the talks with the Lakers and why Luka Doncic and the trade was pulled off. We'll check out that one tomorrow. Nothing there. I will say, looking at the Lakers starting five, size is going to be a concern for me. They've got some good wings coming off the bench for me, and Dorian Finney-Smith, but they're going to have to rely on Maxey getting healthy for them to have any size. But I would look for them to look for a trade for Jonas Valanciunas. LeBron announced he's feeling 10 years younger. Yeah, I would imagine so. But I'm sure he's still kind of dealing with the shock of it all. Because, I mean, he wasn't expecting this trade. So we'll see what his reaction is in a couple of days. Boy, oh boy, what a crazy trade. Appreciate you guys joining us. We're going to go ahead and call it. Looks like this trade is about to go across the finish line. No other real changes to this deal, it sounds like. Yeah, I mean, this to me is kind of a little bit of an overreach to me. The Mavericks will never get anyone worth their salt to play here again as long as Dumont Adelson owned the team and Nico is the GM. I don't think that's true. To me, it's always about money. As far as a superstar, they're not going to have the money to go out there and add anybody anyway. The question is, do they win in the next few years? That's the one thing, if you're a Mavericks fan, that you have to hope for, I suppose. But I would say there's several fans of the Mavericks right now that are in absolute disbelief. I think it's completely shocked the entire sports world. We've seen that already. Patrick Mahomes weighing in on this one as well as he prepares for a Super Bowl. Jake Fisher, Dallas had contacted several teams this week looking to reroute additional salary for a potential 3-team deal. A bunch of teams knew inklings about the Mavs being close on a trade. Nobody knew it was trading Luka Doncic. Wow. Just absolute stunner of a trade. I'm going to reread this one again because this tweet is fascinating to me. Dallas had contacted several teams during the week to reroute additional salary. Additional salary could be trying to offload the deal of Klay Thompson, seeing if they could get somebody to take Klay Thompson, or even if the Lakers wanted him, and then maybe reroute Rui Hachimura somewhere, maybe get Valanciunas to come in that deal, maybe get somebody to take Kleba. Those would be the pieces that would be in play here for rerouting salary for a potential 3-team or more trade. A bunch of teams knew inklings the Mavericks about being close on a trade. No surprise there. Nico's made big trades at the deadline each of the last few years he's been in charge, and most of those trades have worked out pretty well. I would say this one is going to go down as the make or break trade of Nico Harrison's tenure as the head of the Mavericks there. If it results in a NBA Finals victory this year, or next year, or the year after that, I would say, Nico would be forgiven for a lot of his sins here. But, even after that, say you're 10 years down the line, and Luka is still playing strong for the Los Angeles Lakers. Anthony Davis is retired by this point. Kyrie Irving is already retired by this point. And you're watching Luka still suit him up and be one of the greatest scorers ever in NBA history at that point, challenging possibly guys like Reggie Miller on the three-point list, challenging guys like the other top scorers in NBA history, Kevin Durant among others. You're going to be watching him chase records for the Lakers franchise, and the Lakers now have their entire future locked up here. So hats off to the way they were able to get this trade done. Tomatoes being headed the way of the front office for the Dallas Mavericks to me. Come on, man. There's got to be more to this trade, I would hope, for the sake of Nico Harrison and the Dallas Mavericks, because to me, Anthony Davis, while a good player, while more of a complete player at this point, this trade is still very lopsided to me, and still the most shocking trade I've seen in my entire life, honestly. Shocking trades are hard to come by at this magnitude. How rare it is to see a franchise icon be traded, especially of one of his caliber. One of the most valuable trade pieces in the entire NBA, not just by Mavericks fans or me saying it. We're talking about people who study these things. Talk about people who value players. How valuable is Giannis if you were to trade him right now? How valuable is Luka if you were to trade him right now? Zion, etc. Who's the most valuable piece in the entire NBA? Luka, without a doubt, one of the most valuable pieces, 25 or under. Maybe the most valuable piece, 25 or under, outside of Wemby right now. And he gets traded for AD and a pick and a rotation player. Mavericks get off of Maxi Kleba. I suppose that's the silver lining there, that you save a little bit of money. Mavs just traded Michael Jordan Jr. That's a little strong there, Ethan. To me, Luka's not necessarily a top 10 player in NBA history. I will say that. I think he's one of the maybe 10 to 15 best offensive players in NBA history, and might even crack that top 10, maybe even top 5 before it's all said and done as far as offensive talent. But to me, he's not a complete player. I had questions about whether or not he would ever finish in the top 10 as far as, top 10 players ever in NBA history. I think there's a solid case to be made that he'll easily be in that top 75, maybe even in the top 50. To me, Dirk Nowitzki is in that top 25, maybe top 20 range. He was borderline top 10 for me. I think by the time I'm 50 years old, we'll probably see Dirk as a 15 to 20 player. But Luka, I don't necessarily see in that same class yet because of the issues he has defensively, because of the issues he has staying on the floor. I do think he has the ability to be a better conditioned player. I think he can be a better, more committed player on the defensive end. And possibly this trade could be the impetus for those things. You got to hope for that if you're a Lakers fan. I think you're already getting the best end of this trade anyway. But we'll see, what this trade ultimately works out as. Only the Mavs could find a way to have neither of these guys. Yikes. Alrighty. Appreciate you guys joining us this evening. We'll be live again tomorrow morning. We'll break down the trade itself in one separate live. I kind of decided I'll go ahead and do that already. We'll have a few more thoughts as far as what the actual return is. If there's any other facets of the trade that haven't been announced yet, we'll discuss those. And then for those of you who join us from our regular baseball show that we do live every single evening, we'll do a longer live in the morning, getting to some of the trade discussion I was hoping to get into, and then we'll do one in the evening as well. So appreciate you guys joining us. We'll be live again tomorrow morning, so be sure to hit that like and subscribe. And what a trade, what a surprise. Hats off to the Lakers. Great job getting this deal done. Mavericks, this one could hurt for a very long time. So I'm just going to say, for Mavericks fans that are looking at this trade, realizing that the future just walked out the door, that you got to hope things work out in the immediate future with Anthony Davis, because if they don't, it could be a very dark future thereafter. Alrighty. Y'all have a great evening. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Be safe out there, everybody.